signing up for the course. We're really eager to get to know you because we know it's going to be a lot of fun. In fact, one of the secrets of this course is that teaching it is even more fun than taking it. And that's why we can run the course with volunteers. All of us, the committee who helps me put this together, your instructors, we're all volunteers. We do this because we get a real big kick out of doing it. It's just a fun course to do. But we have a serious purpose too, because we know that there's quite a bit that you need to know to be comfortable and safe out there. And as you can already tell from the thickness of that manual, it's a lot. So let's get started. I hope you've all signed in at the reading table. You'll want to do that every night, of lecture night. And that's where you also hand in your homework, pick up maps and other things like that. Because that's, by signing in, that's one of the ways that we track your attendance. You should have now a manual, some ropes, and a few other sheets, and we'll go through those in just a bit. And also, some of you may have already bought some tarps. The compasses were supposed to be here 2 weeks ago. I placed the order in January, so it's not my fault. We really apologize. It means that things are going to be a little hectic next week. The office is also very apologetic. They have offered to sell them at the desk. The office desk is just across the hall here during normal hours. So if any of you happen to be by here between now and the next lecture night and you want to pick up a compass, and if they've arrived, you should be able to do so. Otherwise, please arrive a little bit early. We will do our best to sell them, get them all sold next week. It really helps if you have cash. $40 is the cost of the compass. If you have a couple of 20s you can hand us, we can get the transaction done very quickly. So we'd hope to have them tonight. My guess is they're somewhere in Commerce City right now. At the end of the lecture, please stay seated because all of you will be going to a group meeting after the lecture, and I need to tell you where those are. And one of the sheets that you should have picked up is this one here. It has all of your names on it, or most of your names on it. You should be able to find your name on this sheet, and that tells you what group you're in. And at the end of the lecture, I will tell you how to find that group. So please be patient once Wendy has finished. Now, in the manual, there's quite a bit there. We urge you to read as much of it as you can, as quickly as you can. Current session information has information that is mainly directed toward this particular session. You'll find the homework and the schedule. For instance, the schedule tells you when particular homework assignments are due in. And for instance, the sequence may seem a little strange. I think section 4 homework gets turned in before section 3 for this session. That's not a typo. That's because of we also run this course in the fall, and the ordering is a little bit different in the fall. There is a personal data sheet which we need to get from you for safety reasons. There's some things we need to know. It's all kept confidential. If you can fill that out and hand it to your instructor team tonight, would be very appreciative. And there is a course evaluation. You'll find a couple of pages describing that. We do it with SurveyMonkey, starting at the last night of lecture. But you can start thinking about what comments you want to convey to us as soon as possible. We pay a lot of attention to it, and you are the beneficiaries of all the comments, criticisms, ideas that students have had in the past year. So we really appreciate it if you'd fill out that course evaluation. Course overview, which is the first chapter with the numbered pages, has some basic information about the structure of the course, how the field days go, what the makeup rules are, the policy on regard to that. We allow you to make up 2 lectures, And for the first time in this session, we have the lecture videos on YouTube. So you can either get the lecture video if you need to make it up as a DVD, which you would check out here, turn back in here, or your instructor team can tell you how to get in contact with Norm Arlt, who is going to be handling this, and he'll send you an email with a link to the YouTube video. It's behind a password. We have to do that for copyright reasons, so you have to get a password in order to view those, but it's a very easy way to make up a couple of lectures. And we also have a makeup schedule for all of the field days, and you can arrange that through your instructor team. We also describe our safety rules and our anti-harassment rules, which we take very seriously. We do not tolerate any harassment of other people in the course in any way whatsoever. So please take a look at that. We hope that you have found the manual on the website. We have a PDF version of that. And one of the advantages of it, two advantages actually, one is the pictures are in color, so they're prettier to look at. And the other is that the hot links all work, or they should work. And so if you're reading the PDF and you're hooked to the internet, you can just click on the hot link and it'll take you where we have the information that we're referencing. And there are also a lot of other files on there that are called Learn More files, which are used to, for those of you who already think that the manual is pretty easy stuff and you want to learn more, go to those files. And I think there is actually a video of one of my earlier lectures there that is not behind a password, so you can view that if you want to. Which actually brings me to the point of the next week is the Map and Compass lecture. We will work very hard to make that as clear as possible, but it is the most mentally demanding night of the school. It'll help you a lot to read Chapter 9, or at least look through Chapter 9 before next Tuesday. That you'll have some sort of idea of the sort of information that we're going to be giving you then. And finally, the building closes at 9:45. Every one of us has to be out of the building at 9:45. All the lights out, nobody in the bathrooms. Your instructor team should finish at 9:30. And if they're still talking, feel free to remind them that it's 9:30. One problem we have is we all know far more than we have time to tell you. And some of our instructors like to push the schedule a little bit. But we do have to be out of here by 9:45, and the lesson really ends at 9:30. All right, so enough from me. Let's get to our first lecture. We've chosen to do gear because one of the things that you'll need to do probably is buy some gear, and we would like you to make wise decisions on that so that you don't waste your money. So we have a wonderful speaker here to do that for us, and that's Dan Peterson. He has been a CMC member since 1997, and he has been a director of the backpacking school. So he knows what we're talking about very, very well. And he is a manager at the Lakewood REI. And I see him down there very frequently because it's one of my favorite places to shop in town. So Dan, why don't you come up here and let's get started with the gear lecture.
Thank you, Joe. Can you hear me?
No, I'm not hearing you. See, you've got it turned off.
Got it turned on.
Can you hear him? No.
Say something. What?
Yeah, it's turned on.
Okay. It's a new machine.
Well, actually not. It's an old machine.
Okay. I'll just talk loud.
Yeah, talk loud, a little bit louder. And maybe, John, can you turn up the volume just a little bit? Thank you much.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Sure.
Okay, I'll just talk loud. Anyways, one of the things I always like to start out with is to find out what my audience is. And how many people have been with the CMC for 6 months or less? Okay, that's at least more than half. How many have been in Colorado for 6 months or less? Okay, a little less than half. One of the things I always want to inquire about is, what your background is, and one of the things I've really kind of realized, and it's going to be emphasized in the layering system, is how many people have just recently moved here from the South? Really? Okay, because over the years, people are always moving here from California, Midwest, Texas. I'm noticing a lot of people moving here, being the fact that I work at REI every day, they're moving here from Georgia, Florida, and places like that where they're not really used to our weather conditions. So we're going to get into that with the layering system here in clothing. But mainly what we're going to be talking about tonight is what is going to make or break your experience with this class. And that's gear that is suited to what you're doing out there that fits your body. Footwear, backpacks need to fit your personal body type, and clothing needs to keep you warm too. So we're going to go over footwear, backpacks, and then finally with layering system to keep you warm and dry and comfortable when you're out there experiencing your class. And one of the things I really want to emphasize is, especially when it comes to the boots and backpacks, is if you don't have at least an hour to sit down and talk to an employee about footwear and at least an hour for backpacks, just go back to the store when you actually have a time to sit down with that employee and chat about gear and stuff like that, because fit is really critical for your experience and having you have a good time and having a good time with the gear. So first off, we're going to start off with footwear, which is really critical because you're not going to get anywhere without your happy feet. And this is a off-trail type experience. So for many of you, you've never been off-trail. And one of the things that comes up commonly when I work with people is they have never been off a flat surface, whether it's sidewalks or pavement. They've never been in, undulating terrain. They haven't been trail runners, they haven't been hikers and stuff like that. So we're looking for something that's going to fit your foot real well. Remember this? You probably played with this when you were a little kid. You're 5 years old and trying to figure out, what your size is and stuff like that. I encourage you to get your size fitted when you go in, because some things that have gone on is, one, maybe you've been on flat terrain all this time and you're actually wearing the wrong size. You're probably wearing something too small. But the other thing is, there's that G word, and I call that gravity. And I'm seeing some people out there that have white hair or white beards out there. Our arches go like that. And so your foot size actually may be longer than what it was in the past. So you want to get your foot really sized out. And especially if you're wearing orthotics, or if you're wearing, if you're wearing orthotics, if you got some socks that you really love, bring that with you when you get sized up, because you really want to get sized up to what your foot is currently. I know my size has gained, a good size and a half since I've gotten older, and so you want to get really sized up first. And so get sized up, go in with an idea of what you're going to be doing. How many people here have not been off trail before? Not too many. That's good. So one of the things that you want to look at is what type of footwear you've gone, or you've gone with in the past. Some of the things that's really happening nowadays with through hikers and fast hikers is they're going with lighter weight gear. This is still a pretty stiff boot, so it's torsionally very stiff, which can handle being off trail, which is what you're going to be doing. offer a lot of protection as far as tweaking your ankles. If you've been a trail runner, a road runner, someone that's gone off trail a lot, you probably have a stronger ankle system than most people, so you can go with a little bit lighter. But I still like going with something a little bit stiffer and a little bit high cut when you're going off trail, especially if you're doing it for the first time. So this is kind of my everyday shoe. I personally hike with this and backpack with this. This is my through hiking boot here. I like it because it's still lightweight, it's very flexible, like a running shoe. But if you're going off trail and you're smacking into rocks, you're smacking into trees and stuff, you get a little bit more ankle protection from hitting things and a little bit more ankle support. So a lot of the boots now have gotten really lightened up and can handle a little bit rougher terrain. One of the things I look to in a boot when you're going off trail is something that's going to have a little bit better tread and also a little bit better grip in the heel area. In Colorado, you're either going uphill or you're coming downhill. So when you're coming downhill, it's kind of nice to have something in the heel that's really going to kind of grip. So take a look at that. If it's that smooth type sole that you see in like Vans shoes or something like that, it's just not going to cut it. So take a look at the boots that are going to kind of grip in the downhill aspect, because that's where we're actually going to have the roughest terrain for us is in the downhills. So this is something that has protected me really well. If you think you're going to get into backpacking more, carrying heavier weights, your goal is to do BMS classes, HAMS classes, classes like that where you're going to be carrying climbing gear, backpacking gear, heavier gear and being rougher terrain, then getting something that is more all leather, something that's going to be torsionally stiffer is going to protect your foot better and also be able to handle the harder terrain, be able to slap on some crampons, be able to just protect your foot a little bit better. So kind of think about what your further aspirations are when bringing or buying footwear. If you saw my closet, I have one pair of dress shoes and like 20 pairs of boots. And that's all dependent on if I'm hiking or climbing or whatever I'm doing, but one dress shoe can do me. Any questions on footwear? One of the things that you're going to see happening in footwear is most of the boots are going to be waterproof. And so what they've done is they put a liner into it, very similar to your Gore-Tex jackets, and sometimes it's actually Gore-Tex. So most of the footwear is going to be waterproof. I kind of like breathable myself. I come from a wet environment. I'm originally from Minnesota, so we always had wet footwear. So if you think you're going to be doing something like through hiking, where you're going to be stream crossing, if you mainly hike in the summertime after the snow melts, like in July this year, then you might want something a little bit more breathable. And the breathable shoes will actually dry quicker too, so think about that. And some people I know will get, one of each, a breathable version and a waterproof version. Because what's going to happen is you're going to find out that there are some brands that fit you well and some brands that don't fit you well. So when I look at a wall at REI, there's 20 brands up there. I go, that brand, and that brand, because the rest of them just don't fit me. Because some of them fit wide, some of them fit narrow. But what happens with a lot of people in Colorado, because you never know what Colorado is going to give you that day. So sometimes you want a breathable boot, and sometimes you want a waterproof boot. So a lot of times you get both. That's just the way it is. The reason why I have 20 boots, one pair of dress boots. Any questions on boots? Okay, so I talked about orthotics briefly. Who's over 26? Okay, the majority of you. So what happens after 26 is that G word kicks in. And that's when the gravity thing falls into place. So most of us after that time need some sort of orthotic or foot support. So if you go out on these hikes and you go out for like 3 miles and you think, oh man, my feet really hurt, you probably need some sort of support. So what happens, when I grew up, there was no footbeds in footwear. It was just flat. And then like Nike came out and they started putting in this little foam thing in the footwear. And that's what this is. It's just filler. It looks like it has an arch. It doesn't have an arch. It's just filler. So that's what's in most footwear. It doesn't give you much support. My oboes, pretty cool. See that? See what's going on there? I'm getting really pretty good support in these. And these run about $25. They come with oboes. They come with some other boots. So you might want to pull out the footbed when you're trying on the boots and just take a look at it, especially if you're having problems with sore feet after going 3 or 4 miles. That's kind of a good indicator that you need good support. And so a lot of support here. Now you're getting into the $35, $45 level here, a lot more arch support here. And it's just a matter of, our arches are collapsing when we get older. So we just need more foot support. Honestly, you can actually spend like $400 on getting orthotics for your feet, especially customized to your feet. Try these first, see if they do the trick. If they're not doing the trick, then you have to opt for the expensive stuff. But for most people, something that's in this $25 to $45 category will actually work. So if you go out there and you're hiking and you're getting 3, 4 miles in and it's just not doing it for you, you got sore feet, try some orthotics. And if you already have them, you're going to buy some boots, bring those in, and bring them in with the socks that you like to use, because that will make a big difference in fit. Any questions on footwear? Okay. So footwear is kind of like your clothing wear. So you got a liner sock like this. This is especially nice if you're just starting out and you might be prone to blisters. I didn't bring my little toe socks. I've got toe socks too. Those are really nice if you get blisters between your toes. But most of the time when people are getting blisters in their footwear, it's one of 2 or 3 different reasons. One is the footwear, unfortunately, just doesn't fit you. One of the things you're going to be looking for when you're trying on the boots is you're going to look for like a thumb's width from the end of your toe to the end of your boot to make sure that you have enough movement in the boot so your toe doesn't smack to the end. If your toe smacks to the end, you're going to lose that toenail. I should know more than anybody, but I lost my toenails on Rainier and they never grew back for another year. So you want to make sure you got enough length so your big toe isn't smacking to the end. The other place that you tend to have a lot of slippage is in the heel. So kind of focus on that ball of the foot, your toes, and the heel when you're trying on shoes. But a lot of people get blisters because they wear cotton socks. Cotton socks are really great for putting turtle wax on my truck. So my truck needs turtle wax right now, so anyone that has cotton socks, come on over and we'll put wax on my truck. What you want though is synthetic or wool to get that moisture away from your body and your foot area. That's what's really giving you the blisters, is that wet moisture at your foot. So do away with the cotton socks. If you're kind of worried about getting blisters, you might try a liner sock made of synthetic or wool. But I wear wool socks 365 days a year. They do awesome. So check that out if you haven't used them before. Okay, I'm going to go to packs if no one has any questions on footwear. Okay, so packs are just like footwear. They kind of form to your body. So there are different packs that will fit your body better than others. There are definitely packs, and this happened about 15, 20 years ago, that they finally figured out that women, believe it or not, are shaped different than men. And so they finally started coming out with women's packs. And where women have the biggest issue and the place to focus if you're a female is in the shoulder straps. So the shoulder straps on a woman's pack tend to be narrow and more curvy than men's shoulder straps. So I don't have a women's pack, but I brought one. And so this is thinner and more curvy, so it'll fit a woman's torso better. Women tend to be a little bit shorter in torso too than men do, and the hips tend to angle up on a woman more than they do on a men's pack. So check out women's packs for the majority of you. If you're a woman that has big shoulders and are taller, you might fit well in a woman's pack. Personally, for me, I could actually fit really well in a woman's pack because I have a shorter torso. So I could go into a woman's pack if I could switch out the shoulder straps. But this is a woman's pack. I brought all these packs to give you a visual. So this is a woman's pack that is a 20 liter. It's known as a clamshell. This is kind of my minimum pack for the CMC classes, because what they're going to be teaching you is you need to get all your 10 essentials in here. And that's all your gear that you need for a day hike. One of the things that's going to be fun as a CMC member, when the tourists out there see you with this, they think you've been out backpacking all night because you have all the gear that you're supposed to have. And they just have the water bottle and the shorts and the t-shirt. But this is kind of the minimum. This is a 20 liter. I brought this pack because one of the things that does really well, and this one comes in women's, it comes in like a 20 liter, a 30 liter, and a 40 liter. And a lot of my lady friends have all three. And what this is great at is this particular pack kind of molds and flexes. So they will use this for mountain biking, this size anyways. They'll use it for running. When they get in the bigger ones, they'll use it for backcountry skiing, they'll use it for climbing, because this pack rides really close to your body. So depending on what you're going to be doing, this could be a really good pack to do just about everything. This pack that I've got here is mine, and I'm showing it to you because this is my summer hiking pack. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's got more of a rigid frame to it, so it can carry heavier weights a little bit better than this pack. But since it's got the frame to it, it doesn't really form and contours to me. So this is what I use when I'm out there day hiking. And what's nice about it is it has this little trampoline thing. So there's more ventilation. You can kind of see my hand going behind it. So on a hot day in the summertime, this is a cooler pack for me. So it's heavier. It's not a great skiing pack. It's not a great climbing pack. But this is the pack I pull out anytime I'm going hiking. And a lot of you, that's going to be what you're going to be doing. The clamshell effect like this is kind of nice if you just want to get into it, in the individual compartments. This particular pack here has a top lid, which has extra pockets in it. So I kind of like top lids because I like being able to get into gear without having to get in the main body of the pack. So most of the stuff that's in the pack is stuff that I hopefully don't need for the rest of the day. It's just there in reserve, just in case the weather goes south or something. So one of the things that you're going to want to do when you go in looking for a pack is to get size, just like you got with the Brannick device, that little metal device. You also have your back measured. And the way this works is we actually measure a vertebrae in the back of your neck. And you can't tell by how tall a person is. I'm a medium. And you know, I'll have people that are a lot smaller than me that'll try this on, and they've got a lot longer backs than me. So what I'm looking for is the iliac crest. So see where my buckle is? I have guys all the time come in and they want an extra large. Well, I got a dude at work that's 6'6" and he doesn't take an extra large. And so you really want to be able to get size and make sure you get the right fit. So what we're measuring is a vertebrae in the back of your neck. And again, you cannot tell until we do this by your physical height. But again, back fit and comfort is going to be key on the fact that we make sure the right size. So make sure you get sized up. And I'm going to show you what this little pack does here. I love this pack. And I have more packs than I have footwear. I have packs because it's dependent on who I'm going with. I've got my fast and light hiker friends, and I've got my let's go into camp 4 miles and sit down and have a gourmet meal and a lot of wine and cheese. And so, depending on who I go with, it's what kind of pack I bring. So, this is what your leaders are going to love. So I've got this pack. It fits really nice. The curve in the shoulder strap goes down, follows my contour, follows my body shape really well. But the fact that this pack handles a lot of gear that you might need on the trail. So it's got 2 pockets here. So I can open it up. I can get out my iPhone and take a snap, take a picture. I can open up this pack here, get my Jolly Ranchers, my other treats out here. I can do all that without having to stop and drag the group down and slow everyone down. One of the things that you might want to look at when you're out looking for a pack is side pockets. You know, some people use bladders. I'm a water bottle kind of guy. So, you stop, you take a drink, take a look at, can you get the pockets? See, I'm kind of having a struggle here. So can you put the water bottle into the pocket rather than having another fellow CMC member, get into it? So can you get into that pocket with your water bottle and get it back out? Something very simple, but it's kind of key for when you're on the trail with a CMC group, because you don't want to slow everyone down. So kind of take a look at that. Again, I'm always looking at gear that I have on my pack that I can be accessing without having to take it off. It's good. I've been kind of switching out packs because it's kind of winter climbing season. So normally on my pack, here I also have my lip balm, I have my sunscreen, I have my whistle, I have all kinds of things attached to my shoulder straps. And I do actually have it attached to here. But that, again, is kind of stuff that I would normally have attached to my pack. So again, I don't have to take the pack off to get to it. Any questions on packs? Yeah?
Could you tell us the brands of the 3 packs?
This is an Osprey, that's an Osprey, and that's an Arc'teryx. So I said that this is a good do-everything pack. If you wanted one day pack to do everything, that's an awesome pack. This is my summer hiking pack. That is my winter pack. So this is what I use for climbing, snowshoeing, skiing. I could spend overnight with that pack there. So we got a 20 liter here, 26 liter here, and a 38 liter there. So I really kind of like the 30 to 40 liters for doing CMC type groups, because we want to do the 10 essentials to make sure we have everything that we need to be safe out there, especially because you want to be independent of everyone. We did a doggy rescue and on a CMC hike, and we were coming down, it was October, and this guy was up there and he was hiking in his Marlboro cotton t-shirt and jeans, and he had a 45 and a Bowie knife here, and he had like 6 pounds of gear that were worthless, no pack, no food, no water, and his big 95-pound black lab had fallen and busted up his hip on the ice because it was October. And we immediately, when we found him, started pulling out all of our emergency blankets, set up a trekking pole system, and we carried his dog down like 2,500 feet and like 6.5 miles down. And that dog wouldn't have made it. And he thought we were all out for the night again, but we had everything we needed, and we just boom, 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 put it all together, got his dog down, and he got off to that. But that dog wouldn't have made it because that guy was totally not prepared. So that's why I like kind of that 30 to 40 liter group, because you can have all your snow stuff, everything you would totally need. And it's not that much heavier than the 20 liter here. Any questions on packs? Yeah?
Are there some convenient add-ons to add to a pack to add a little extra storage?
Not typically. Those have actually kind of gone away. That's a good question, because there used to be pockets and stuff like that to add for cameras and stuff like that, but they kind of went away when the cameras got smaller and everyone started carrying their iPhones and stuff like that too. So there's not a lot of add-ons, especially since most packs nowadays do the add-ons on the pack to begin with. The exception is when you get into a climbing pack like I've got here, they don't do the pockets a lot because the pockets would, interfere with the climbing aspect, hitting the wall and stuff like that. So this one doesn't. It does have gear where I could, if I wanted to, I could put on gear to it. But when you get into this kind of pack, they don't normally do that kind of routine. But yeah, that's a good question, because it's kind of gone away. Any questions on packs? Yeah?
So you mentioned your water bottle and being able to put it into a pocket quickly. You also mentioned some bladders. Is one better than the other?
Yeah, I'm actually going to get into that right at the end. It's kind of a personal thing. Okay, so what we're going to go into now is clothing. If packs is all good. So one of the things that you want to do, does everyone know about the layering system? Who doesn't know about the layering system?
I go over it.
Wow, this is a good solid group. Who knows about it? So the layering system is, what you want to do is have your underwear. Underwear is going to be something that's going to be able to transform the moisture away from you and not get saturated. So again, we're not wearing cotton. I usually would have cotton clothing up here. One of the other schools grabbed my cotton display. But normally if I had my cotton jeans over here and had it in water, it would already be up to here in water, then it's soaked up. So what we're looking at is synthetics or wools or a combination of the two materials. I'm actually wearing my underwear tonight. This is my underwear. This is wool. I kind of wear as stylish underwear as I can so you don't know why I'm wearing underwear. But you can get it in 3 different models. You can get it into a synthetic. Synthetic is awesome if you're going out hiking or skiing or running for the day, and then you come back and you can throw in the wash. The synthetics tend to handle the sweat smell not as well. it retains it. The wools are what I wear in the wintertime, especially if I'm camping and I'm with a buddy, because this doesn't retain the smell as much, so they're not going to smell in the tent when we're camping out as much. But this is wool. This is my winter type wool, so it's got like thumb holes like that I can use for climbing. Keeps my wrists nice and warm and toasty. A lot of times when you're getting cold hands, think about the fact that your veins are right here. So what's happening is they're getting colder because of that exposure. So I kind of like this stuff in the wintertime. Plus I'm a nice climber, so that kind of works really kind of sweet. But one of the things that I do all the time is, and what you're going to want to do when you're out there on these hikes, is think about the fact that you should you're kind of at the end of winter. It'd be more probably important if you were doing the fall winter trekking school, but you kind of want to start off at the trail kind of cool. Because what's going to happen is, as soon as you guys start hiking up that hill, you're going to get hot in like 10 minutes because you're working so hard. So one of the things is you want to kind of start off kind of cool to begin with. And for me, when I talked about the fact that, okay, I'll throw my pack back on again. So I talked about the fact that you want to be able to zip along using your pack, getting at your gear that you need to get at. I didn't bring my little ball cap, but one of the things I do when I'm on the trail is I'm regulating my temperature really well with the ball cap. I used to have long blonde hair, kind of like yours, about that long. And in Minnesota, it would be 20 below, and I never had to wear a hat. Now, with this new do I've got, I can really regulate my temperature really well with my hat. So what I do is I'll take my hat on and off, or I'll regulate here really well. So all my gear has a really long zipper like this. If I'm exposing my heart, I can really dump out a lot of heat this way. So if I get hot, I dump out heat, take off my hat, dump out heat. Then I'm getting cold, I'll close this up, put a hat on. So I can really regulate my temperature really well on the trail by the clothing I wear versus, the traditional crew cap type design on the top. So this is my base layer. Inside, and one of the things that you're going to find when you hike more is you're going to figure out what kind of clothing works well for you and how you can totally control your body temperature by how you work. So one of the things that works really well for me is my next piece. This is my base layer. Sometimes I will bring, depending on the temperature, a vest. So again, I'm keeping my core layer warm. Boy, this got really wound up. So a lot of times I'll use a vest. And this is just a fleece vest. And what I'm doing, again, is keeping my core warm. So it's your brain, it's your heart, your lungs that you want to keep warm. If you're finding that your hands and your feet are getting cold, it's mainly because this area here has gotten cold and is depriving, warmth from your feet and your hands. So if you can keep this warm, this is going to stay warm. So a lot of times I'll just add a vest to it like this, because then I got free movement to use my trekking poles, ski poles, climb with it, whatever. So the vest works out really well. So sometimes I'll have this layer, and I always look, if you're getting ready for a CMC trip, take a look at the weather conditions like 5 days out and just keep analyzing it. This is another nice piece that I use a lot. You can see it's got the big deep zipper to it, and then it's got a hood. Again, it allows me to really control my heat a lot. So I'll normally have this, and then that, depending on the temperature, or this, depending on the temperature. And this is normally enough insulation for me, even in the wintertime, to keep moving when, you know, it's relatively cold, because we were designed to move. And that's enough, usually, insulation for me. So this is my base layer, that's my mid layer. I've got what is affectionately known as a hard shell, both bottoms and tops. You end up using these more in Colorado because of the wind. Sometimes we do get rain. We'll see what happens this summer. But mostly it's the wind that's grabbing the heat away from our bodies and pulling it away. So this would typically, if I had, you know, that mid layer on because it was cold, then I would throw this on if it was really windy. And, you know, this is just a raincoat. So raincoats can range in price from $60 to $600, depending on the one you pick up. In here I've got hats, and I've got gloves, pants. I rarely use the pants in Colorado, but if you're going to go out shopping for a pair of pants, I would get something like this with full zip so you can ventilate really well. But what's nice with the full zip is that you can, and these will run about $100, is that you can put on your skis, you can put on your snowshoes, you can put on your crampons without having to take those off. So these can be living in your pack all day long. And when you really need them, you can pull them out and put them on real easily. So this is going to help retain heat because of the fact that wind doesn't go through it. So when I stop, that's when the big puffy comes out. And so this is a down one here. So this is what I use pretty much when I stop, and this can just go over your hard shell just really easily. Or if you get into camp. And I'll just throw that over the whole shebang. Because then when you start hiking again, when your group decides, okay, we're done with lunch, we're going to go, then you just pull this off. It can go under your hard shell really well too. The one thing I have done with all my coats is I put a lovely little buff. Who watches Survivor show? Yeah, so it became really big in the Survivor show. So I use this for everything. You know, you can do just about anything with it. You can do the neck gaiter thing with it. Again, you lose a lot of heat there. You can do the balaclava thing with it, like this. Keep you warm. Let's see. I gotta figure out how to do the Harley Davidson dude thing. Okay, here's the Harley Davidson dude thing. So, I mean, this thing, I'll pick up my pot when I'm cooking with it. You know, you can do the Harley Davidson dude thing. This thing is incredible. You can do so many things. And I've gotten to the point where I've got so many of these, I just put them permanently in each jacket. So, for something that doesn't weigh anything, doesn't cost anything, these are awesome. But this is a system that if you were to saw me in January snowshoeing, this is all the same stuff I would have had. It can definitely handle all the temperatures that we've experienced and everything that you're going to experience in your class. Any questions on layering systems?
What did you call that you just have?
That's a buff. Yeah. And now they got a really cool one that has a Colorado flag on it. It's going to be my next one. But that's kind of your armor. You know, I've been on 14ers where I've had to lay down during a storm with, you know, the hard shells on and stuff like that, and just kind of, you know, tucked everything in and basically made a bivy sack out of all my clothing and my hard, you know, my hard shell and stuff like that. and sat there through the rainstorm, the snowstorm, the grapple, everything, and it worked out fine. And when the storm got over, got up, and went on our way. And that's kind of what we're teaching you guys. So with all this gear, you can totally make everything work. Any questions on clothing? Yeah.
Do you generally wear like an under layer for your legs?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I was thinking about that when I came in. Because we're past the spring equinox, I normally don't after the spring equinox. If you think about it, again, it's this area here you're trying to keep warm. Your legs actually, think of a moose. You got those skinny little legs, and they're fine in the wintertime. It's keeping this warm here. So usually from spring equinox to fall equinox, I don't normally have underwear unless I'm backpacking and I'm spending the night. But during the day, I don't normally use it because I don't need it. But I always have a base layer, all the time. In the wintertime, I'll normally have a base layer. But that's a really good question. You're just going into the warmer temperatures. Yeah.
So, in the summertime, I get hot all the time, so is shorts okay, or do you typically say pants all year round?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I ran into a lot of people this week with shorts on. You're going to need definitely to have that. All the people I ran into shorts I camped out this last weekend, and I ran into people with shorts on and t-shirts, and didn't have the gear for the storm. That it snowed on me, and they didn't have the gear. So I normally still wear long pants, and I normally wear a long sleeve still, because I can do this. With a t-shirt, you can't do this. You can do this, but with a long sleeve, I can expose these veins, and dump a lot of heat. And then, more importantly, we burn up really bad here in Colorado. So I like the sun protection. So I'll typically have either one of those safari type shirts where I can roll it up, or something like this during the summertime, because I can, expose it if I need to. But more importantly, the sun exposure, because especially I've been here since the 80s, and I still get fried all the time because I keep forgetting that you can burn up in Colorado in like 15 minutes. So the sun protection. One of the things that a lot of my friends are using now, and I think I'll go to it, is the sleeves that they use biking. So they're short little sleeves that they'll take off their legs and off their arms, or even their hands. And because that's kind of convenient, because think about it, you're going to be at the trailhead with the CMC group at 7 in the morning. It's cool, it's cold, you get going, but you can take those sleeves off your legs and off your arms really easily. But you can put them back on, they don't weigh much, they'll give you the warmth, they'll give you the sun protection. So I would take a look at the sleeves for both legs and arms. Some of my friends have been using them for like 10, 12 years, and they work out pretty good. But that's a really great question, because that's kind of what you're going to run into real soon here. Any questions on clothing? Okay, so we talked about hydration system briefly. I'm a water bottle kind of guy myself. I'm used to going about 4 miles before I need to take a drink. And then I'm used to taking breaks and then taking drinks. But that said, you may be with some CMC leaders, I will not name them, or friends that just want to go, and they just never stop for a break. That's when I pull out my hydration system. So normally I'm just using water bottles, but if you're going with a group that goes, then that's when the bladder system works out really well. This one has a hose on it that has a cover for it, more for winter use. I pretty much don't ever use these in the wintertime because they always freeze. This can kind of handle the temperatures that we've got right now up in the mountains where it's right around 32 degrees. But you know, if it's December, January, it's gonna freeze on you. So I typically will just go with a water bottle. If you're using a hydration system, what you wanna do is, especially when it's around freezing, is blow the air so the water goes back into the hydration system, because where it's freezing is here in the tube. I had a lady friend that she always wanted to use the hydration system. I tried to talk her out of it, but she really wanted to make it work, so I spent 3 hours stretching a foam thing over the top of this during a movie that I got at Lowe's. And it really took me the whole time to stretch it over, and it was about that fat. And she came back from the hike, and I said, so did your hydration system freeze? And she goes, yeah, it did. And I'm like, yeah, I told you it would. But she was just like, but it was the last one to freeze. So she was so excited because it was the last one to freeze. But I use water bottles typically, unless like I know that I'm going on some sort of trip where I physically need to move fast and I'm not taking breaks. That's when I will use my hydration systems. So think of biking, trail running. If you're going with Dave Goldwater, some of the other trip leaders that go. Any questions on hydration systems or anything else for that matter? I guarantee you, if you're thinking of it, someone else is. Yeah.
I've been a camelback user for years.
Uh-huh.
And I continually have problems, still have problems getting it to seal properly. And I understand there's other options these days with ladders that
Yeah.
are easier to seal out the water and stuff and not get leaks.
Yeah, they're all changing quite a bit. So what she's talking about is a camelback bladder has a circular system that screws tight on it. And sometimes it's, because it's, you know, moldable and stuff like that, it's hard to get that seal. Most of the hydration systems nowadays are going to a kind of a sleeve system where it opens up at the top, and so it's easier to clean out. But the other thing that happens is when you fold it over, there's a mechanism that kind of pinches it tight from the top. So most of the new bladder systems are going with that type of system. That would be Platypus uses that, Hydropack, Osprey. Pretty much everyone is kind of going to that kind of system. The exception is that the Gregory brand is still doing the circular system, but what they've done with theirs is the bladder comes out in a way. So the system, it seems to lock up a little bit better than the Camelback at this point. Camelbacks are getting a little bit harder to find. But again, when you're thinking of your hydration system, it's kind of like everything else. Think of something that's going to be simple and easy to use and able to get at it without having to take the pack off. All right. Yeah, one last question.
Yeah, just one comment. The other thing to think about, especially in the backpacking, is how to refill it quickly. Because the circular one, Camelback is coming.
Yeah, so what he's talking about, especially last year where we had so little water. So last year, I mean, where normally the streams would be this deep, the streams were this deep. So it's a little more challenging to fill up something like a Camelback versus something like with the Platypus or something like that, where you could just kind of like scoop it all up because it had a flatter system. So the newer systems work better for lower water levels. Don't think we're gonna have that problem this year. All right, thanks folks. Enjoy your class.
Let's thank Dan for an excellent lecture. Dan, did you talk about mud puddles?
No, but I love mud puddles.
Yes, at this time of year, you often encounter mud puddles on the trails, and many hikers walk around them. It does a lot of damage next to the trail, it widens the trail, causes extra erosion, and it drives the park rangers crazy. Sometimes we'll see articles in the local paper where they're basically begging people to stay on the trail. Don't walk around the mud puddles. So that's why we have waterproof boots. They allow you to go straight through that mud puddle and protect the trail. It's a very important part of Leave No Trace. Now, another important part of Leave No Trace is what Wendy is going to talk about. Much of our good health is attributable to the sophisticated hygiene practices that we have here in the city. Our cities are livable because of the way that we dispose of waste. Now, it's also true in the wilderness, but the techniques are different. And we have a perfect speaker for that, and that's Wendy Lee, who talks about this not only for us, but for the backpacking school and for wilderness first aid, I think, right? These days?
Well, not first aid, that changed.
Oh, wilderness survival?
You're my favorite.
Yeah, oh, good. Okay. Thank you. You'll quickly see why it is that Wendy is such a popular lecturer. She's been a CMC member since 2004, and there is an orphanage in South Africa where she is known as Beautiful Auntie Wendy. So please give an enthusiastic welcome to Beautiful Auntie Wendy.
It's good to see a good group. You guys are going to love this class. I had the best time in wilderness trekking. So I'm going to talk about personal hygiene in the wilderness. And you're probably all going, why do we need to talk about personal hygiene in the wilderness? Well, think about how things are now. Each year, just in Colorado alone, thousands of people go into the wilderness. They hike, they camp, they bike, they do all sorts of things. And if people didn't dispose of their waste properly, it's just not a pleasant place to go. So we need to be good stewards of the land and take care of it. We don't want to go and see people's toilet paper and their trash laying all over. Another good reason is, why do people get sick when they go into the wilderness? Because they come in contact with improperly disposed of waste. They don't take care of their body parts like they should. They don't keep them clean. They don't wash their hands before they prepare their food, and they don't treat their water. So all these things, collective things, can make you sick and not have a pleasant time in the wilderness. So a lot of people will say, oh, I'm just going to bury all that stuff. Well, you can't bury it because it takes years for that stuff to decompose, and even the stuff that decomposes takes years to decompose. You don't want to bury that stuff because then animals are going to dig that out. So we just got to get it right from the start. So again, being good stewards of where you're going, you're going to know what the rules and regulations are of where you're hiking or camping or wherever. Most places you have to go to the bathroom between 200 and 300 feet away from rivers, lakes, or streams. But know what the land manager's rules are in that area. There might be some areas where if there's a water table or something underneath where you're hiking, they don't want you to go to the bathroom there at all. So know where you're camping. Know what you're doing. So if you just come prepared and you got all the stuff you need, it's really easy. So if you guys are ever out hiking or camping with me and I grab my purple bag and you got a question, wait a little while before you ask me because I'm on a mission. So if you put everything you need, so I have something to dig with. This is just a winter tent stake that I can use. It's pretty sturdy, I can dig. But if you want something, know where you're going to go. You know, if you want something a little bigger, a little sturdier, this is plastic, it's lighter weight. This is heavier, but you can really dig in some pretty heavy-duty stuff. So know where you're going to take something to dig with. Then, in here, I also have toilet paper, and you'll notice I got it in a nice plastic bag. You always want to keep this stuff nice and dry. Then, I've got some little peri pads, things like that I keep in there. I also then have a bag to carry out my waste. And if you're worried about, we'll talk about carrying out toilet paper and that. You know, it's a good idea to get in the habit of carrying that out, because even toilet paper takes a long time to decompose, and there's a lot of people going into the wilderness now. So if you're a little worried about carrying out your toilet paper, just take and the bag not holding, take a regular bag, a regular plastic bag, and reinforce it with some duct tape. It'll keep it nice and sturdy. And if people know that you practice leave no trace principles, they're not going to be digging around in your backpack looking for your extra treats when you're Also have some like handy wipes and some hand sanitizer. So bring all the stuff you need, put it in one bag, and then have it ready to go. You know, and have it at the top of your backpack, so the minute you got to go somewhere, you can just grab it and go. So, urination. Not too much of a problem, but you really need to look where you're going. So you want to make sure there's no animal or snake or anything down there that's going to jump up and grab you when you start going. So know where you're going. Now men, not so much a problem with them. They were born with a directional spout. They just have to worry about the wind direction. Now ladies, they have a little bigger area of exposure. So we really need to look and see where we're going to go. Because by chance, if we lose our balance, we want to know what we're falling into. Sometimes privacy might be a little problem. You know, if you're a trip leader, kind of plan out your trip where people are going to go to the bathroom and some areas where you've got some cover, men over here, women over here, and make these periodic potty stops. But there might be places like maybe you summited and you have to go to the bathroom. There's no trees up there. There's no trees above tree line. That's why they call it tree line. So if you're above tree line, you have to go to the bathroom. What are you going to do? Well, if you have a tarp and a couple of good friends, they can hold the tarp up for you and make a little barrier. Your friends can stand together, make a little barrier or else you can just ask the boys to divert their eyes. And there's another fancy little thing called the freshette or the chick dick, and you can pee like a man. So there's a lot of different little devices out there called different things. The thing with this, it comes in a little plastic bag, you bring it, you use it. You can use this when you're above tree line because you don't have to pull your panties all the way down. Another good place to use this is if you're winter camping or in a place where you don't want to get out of your tent at night. So you can use this, grab an Nalgene bottle, just don't get your water bottle and your other Nalgene bottle mixed up in the night, and use this. One thing that's really good though about when you use this, one thing to practice though, practice at home in the safety of your own home. So put all the clothes on that you're going to wear when you're camping, go in your tub, take your little freshette and your Nalgene and practice and make sure you're hitting the spot. Because the worst thing you could do, especially if you're winter camping, is get your sleeping bag all wet. A couple other things, some ladies like to, you know, if you're going to use toilet paper, plan on packing that out. Take your little bag, pack it out. You don't really need that much toilet paper, so practice when you go home tonight. I dare you to just practice using a couple sheets and how that goes for you. Plan on taking that out. A couple other things, some people will take a bandana or a rag that's specifically just for that, and then they'll rinse it out. Again, don't go walking in the stream to rinse it out, but rinse it out and then tie it on the backpack. I'm just sharing knowledge. I'm not saying I've tried all of these things, but these are different options out there for you to look at. Other little things to do is some people will just use a drip dry method, and then some ladies might just put a little light pad in their wares to wear. But remember, if you're on a little longer backpack trip and you're not going home right away, sometimes you want to just open up the windows and air out the house, or else you're going to have a bad trip. So think of things ahead of time, what you're doing. Okay, now big potty. Big potty. When you go big potty, this is where you got your trowel. And you want to dig 6 to 7 inches into the soil to put your big potty in. So I already know, the nice thing is when you find your digging tool, I know that I need to dig to about here to get 6 to 7 inches. So get your little trowel, know where you got to go. So what you do is you dig your hole with your trowel, and then after that, your trowel is pretty much done. Your trowel never touches your big potty. So what you do is if you go big potty and you miss your hole, which happens from time to time, get a stick or something and push it in the hole, stir it up a little bit, help it decompose, and then cover it up. And another little trick that somebody had taught, that it's suggested here, is then take a little stick and stick it up, so it sticks upright, because most sticks aren't sticking upright in a hole. Then that way, especially when you're in a big group, you know that somebody's already gone there, and that's not the optimal place to start digging. So, go in there. Some places where you go, remember we talked about being good stewards and knowing about where you're going and everything, you have to carry everything out. You have to carry your big potty out too. So they have all sorts of different things, like this is a wag bag, they have rest stops, there's bags with all sorts of different names. You can even use a regular bag if you want to. These little things just come with little handy little kits all ready for you to go. So this, what I'm going to show you here is what comes in this little kit here. So here is the plastic bag to put it in when you're done. It's like a little Ziploc bag. They give you little handy wipes. And where'd the toilet paper go? They don't give you a lot of toilet paper. So, oh, here. And so this is the toilet paper you get. So you should probably bring a little extra. But that's only the only toilet paper you get. But this is what they give you to go with. So you got this. And there's a little bit of this gelatinous powder down here to help solidify things. So what you want to do is you want to lay this out. Now, if you can't hit that, probably shouldn't be camping in that area. So, you use your wag bag, and now it's totally up to you if you want to, as if you got a very close friend and you want to share a wag bag. Those are things you probably should discuss before you go on the trip. You can share the wag bag. You can use an individual one. Just remember to bring enough for your whole trip. So then when you're done with this, and remember, this big bag's got to fit in here. So you want to be careful how much you fill this. Because this is going to be going in your backpack. So again, people will not look for your treats after they know you've got a wag bag in there. So you just pack all this up, put all your stuff in there, seal it up, and then when you get back to the civilization, you just toss it in the trash. But it's very important, a lot of places like Everest and, what's the mountain in, I'm drawing a blank, in Seattle?
Rainier.
In Washington? Rainier, yeah. There, I think you have to carry your bags. A lot of places, and a lot of places are getting more of that, you have to do that, even areas around here. So be conscientious about this. I personally think it's a very manly thing to carry the wag bag out after a camping trip. So, gentlemen, if you're trying to get yourself a little lady, help her out a little bit. Okay, feminine hygiene products. Ladies, you just got to get that in your head. You got to carry all that stuff out. You don't want to throw that stuff in a fire. You're more likely to burn the whole forest down before that burns. And you don't want to bury that, because that is it's very, very likely that an animal is going to dig that up and drag it around, and nobody wants to see that. So, again, you go all prepared. You take everything you need in one bag. So, and there's a few little tricks I'll share with you. So in there I have aluminum foil, some handy wipes or wet wipes, my feminine products, a bag to put them in, baking soda, and some hand sanitizer. So what you do is you take your aluminum foil, and once you don't rip it, like a little disastrous there, but you take your aluminum foil and you put your used product in there. And then what you do is you put a little baking soda, or you can take an aspirin and crush that over it, and it kind of neutralizes the smell. And then you wrap that up in there, and then you put that in your bag, your trash bag, and then you can use your handy wipe and everything, put that in there, and then pack everything up, use your hand sanitizer. So you want to pack all of this stuff out. And if you're camping, you want to not have that stuff, especially in bear country or a country where there's a lot of animals around. You don't want to have that in the tent with you. So you want to hang that with a bear bag also, up with if you're hanging your backpacks or whatever. You want to make sure that's out of your, where you're sleeping area. And then there's all sorts of products. This is called a Diva Cup. This is, instead of a tampon, you can use this. It's another product. There's all sorts of other little products out there. the big thing with anything that's new that you've never tried before, always try in the safety of your own home before you go out into the wilderness and give it a shot, okay? So there's all sorts of different things out there. If you plan ahead, you have all the right supplies. People know we have to go to the bathroom. Everybody does. So if you got to go to the bathroom and you're camping or hiking with somebody, especially in this group, you probably have some people you don't know. Just go, I got to take a little break. I'll be right back. But always let your trip leader know where you go. So any questions, concerns, feelings of inadequacy here, not at home? Nothing? Oh.
So where in your bag do you repack this stuff more? Top, the bottom, middle, doesn't matter?
Well, I would be leery to put it on the very bottom, as some people might be tempted. But remember, when you put all that stuff on it, it's just a little plastic bag. You might want to reinforce it a little bit too. So you want to have it somewhere where it's not going to get squished. And then, people are used to throwing their backpack down and then they sit on it. You might want to rethink about sitting on it at the end of the trip. Does that help? Anything else? All right, thanks you guys. Have a good time.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Our wilderness areas are swarming with people who have not heard that lecture, and I certainly wish they had. Now, let's see, I need to do one quick thing, and then I'll tell you where you can find your group meetings. Okay, so I hope you found your name now on that list I showed you before. So we'll start with group 10. It's Carl Ford, and you're in conference room C. And that's going to be down 2 levels.